representation, and it was described as a union of polar opposites. So Clint in the past has liked using blue and yellow. In the past, Clint has said this is to represent masculinity and femininity, and then Clint also incorporated the black and white, also just to push the point of polar opposites.
These were our really super awesome plans. As you can see, they were really extensive. We weren't quite sure what we wanted to do with the color because we were thinking about doing the bit mapping for the color. So this is kind of what we were thinking about first, and then we assigned our work at the bottom. But they're like super cool plans.
Alright, so this is how our original image turned out. A couple things we had to consider when making it was the fact that we had to make the semicircles, and we had to make those ourselves, and so we used our knowledge from MP2 and image to track to make the semicircles. The other thing we had to consider was we had to journalize this to a procedure. So this is actually a solid rectangle and then a solid ellipse on top. And then one of our transformations was to scale the width of the ellipse. And so we have a scaling factor in our procedure as well in order to make that transformation easier.
Okay, so this is some code that I was particularly proud of. And what it does is it takes an image, and depending on how far away a pixel is from the center, it will make it the color more extreme in a certain direction, according to one of the 10 numbers in the hundreds place, I think. And I was proud of how I was able to get like an abstract procedure called transform ? That gets called just once in a recursion thing, so that I only had to write one recursive function at the bottom instead of 10. So I was very proud of that. Yeah.
So with the code that we developed, we came across some really interesting images. This first one we call the Spencer launch on a sunny day, but it was because we couldn't centralize the lighter pixels, so we had to fix that. So that's actually a picture that wouldn't run by using the image series 829, 400, 300. The 400 is the width, the 300 is the height. The 8 represents the hundredths place that Colin just said about the color. So 8 represents RGB lighter in this case, which is why it's lighter back there. And then the 2 represents the rotation. So for each digit, we assigned a different angle. So for this, it would be 45 degrees. And then for 9, it represents the size. So that's why it's almost touching the edges, because it's really stretched. So we also saw a couple more pictures. So again, if you look at what each digit represents, we have 0 for my lighter, 1 for my darker, and then it goes on. So with that, we could have seen really interesting images. So for example, here the 5 is my yellower, which is why the image is more yellow. This is 029, the 0 representing my lighter. And then we got to see images also with green by using the 6 as our digit because it's my greener.
It's cyanar.
My cyanar. And then moving on, we got to see a lot of interesting pictures. So these are a couple of ones that we selected. Thank you.